Hello everybody, hello, welcome, and hello to the live stream. I'm Dan, your friendly fishmonger at dansfish.com. We do this stream every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 9 Eastern for those that might be mountain challenged. And I have a very exciting night for you tonight. I have some really cool fish I'm going to show you that are newly listed for sale on the website as of just a few minutes ago. A couple of these I've been looking for years. A couple of them are highly requested and very hard to find, so I think you'll be excited to see them as well. I think it's going to be really cool, but before we get into that, we have to do our shipping report, and we have to talk about our giveaway. So let's start with the shipping report, shall we? I have great news. We went up 0.1%. So last week, our shipping average over the last 12 months, our success rate shipping fish to customers over the last 12 months was 98.85%, and today it is 98.86%. Yeah! We finally went up. We're only 0.04% away from our goal, which is 99%. We want 99% of the fish that we send to our customers to arrive healthy and alive and thrive for our customers. Well, we want 100%, of course. Duh. But our goal is to get to 90. We feel like that's achievable. We've done that in the past. And it's really tricky as the business grows and as we scale this company to make sure that the quality doesn't diminish as well. So our goal is always to maintain 99%. That's what we're focused on. So, yeah, pretty good shipping day. There were a couple losses here and there, but statistically, things are going great. So thanks to all the customers who bought fish from us. If you're one of the few customers that had a problem, my sincere apologies. I know what a bummer that is. I've been on the receiving end of stuff that didn't go well. I get it. All I can tell you is we continuously try our best, and we're continuously trying to make incremental improvements in the quality of our fish and how we get them to you and how we supply them too. So that's the shipping report. Pretty good, 98.86%. So close, 0.04 away from 99. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. The giveaway tonight is for a fish that's near and dear to my heart. I think one of the prettiest little fish ever. This is Epiplates annulatus, the clown killie or rocket killie is often one of its common names. These are little gems. Males maybe get to about an inch, and then they have the long plumed tail that looks like a rocket flame coming out the back, right? Hence rocket killie. But they also have the white and black bands on them, which kind of gives them the clown killie appearance, like clown makeup. So take your pick. Either way, it's a true nano fish, very peaceful, and just a delight. It hangs out at the top of the aquarium. An excellent jumper, so you do have to be careful if you don't have a tight-fitting lid. If you have enough floating plants, that can help mitigate that a little bit. But this is a fish that's natural escape instinct when threatened is to jump. So keep that in mind. But with the caveat of that, and that it's small and peaceful, and could easily be outcompeted by, voracious fast feeders, food aggressive fish. Besides that, I don't think there's any really special care requirements. They eat flake food just fine. They eat small pellets just fine. They like live baby brine shrimp. They're easy to feed. They're just tiny. So that's the main thing you have to keep in mind. And ours are really tiny. Ours are around 1/2 inch. This is a fish I've kept and bred for years. For the past few years, I've had no luck with it whatsoever. But that's not because the fish is difficult. That's because I couldn't find a supplier who treated them properly in the transport process. So by the time they got to me, they were in bad shape. We finally figured out a supplier that does a good job and some things we can do on our end to ensure that they do well for us. And so we're finally carrying these again, and I think this will be one we carry regularly because it's amazing. Not a difficult fish to breed, although its eggs are a lot smaller than most killifish. So the main challenge is raising the babies. In a nice natural tank that's been set up for a long time and has lots of plants and things, if you just feed baby brine shrimp, there's enough little infusorian critters that you'll get a self-perpetuating colony without any problem. To produce them in mass, you'll probably need to culture infusoria, paramecium, those kinds of tiny little live microfoods if you're trying to cultivate them in mass. But for most people, they just want to, you know, perpetuate their colony and watch it grow gradually. In that case, these are a simple fish to do that with. They don't like a lot of flow. They come from fairly swampy, kind of still water areas, maybe slight flow sometimes of the year, but in general, not much flow. So I wouldn't have a you know, vigorous power filter or anything like that in their tank, but an air stone or a sponge filter or something like that that's bubbling and not bubbling so vigorously that the entire, you know, water column is tumultuous should be fine for these guys. Fairly slow bubbling sponge filter. So that is, I think, kind of the need to know specs on this fish and keeping it. And if you'd like to take some of these home, if you'd like to win some, then enter hashtag send in the clowns. I couldn't resist. I had to make it long. Hashtag SENDINTHECLOWNS. No spaces, caps don't matter. My wife is working on that musical by Sondheim right now, A Little Night Music. And so I couldn't resist. All right, now we're going to talk about birds. I'm just kidding. That's for Kyle Hernandez. He'll understand. After that, now we'll get to the meat and potatoes of the stream. Before we do that, before we get to your questions and comments, I have to show you the new fish. What am I thinking? We have some really cool fish. And some of these I think are going to blow minds. Okay, let's start with this one. We were able to get in some more Leopoldi angelfish, Pterophyllum leopoldi. It is similar to the commonly available angelfish species, scalaire, but it's not the same. It's a different species, different fish. The shape of the head here, for me, the kind of the top of the body, this slope here, is, now I can glance at this fish and know that it's Leopoldi. Because once you've seen that in person a few times, it's quite different than your standard scalaire. And then the other thing that someone recently taught me about is this kind of dark patch here on the bottom of the dorsal fin. I didn't realize that, but that's something that a lot of Leopoldi have as well. So we have a nice healthy batch. They're good size. They're 2.5, 3 inches. And these came out of Germany. They were bred and raised in Germany. In fact, all the fish I'm going to show you tonight were sourced from Europe, except for the pandacories, which was sourced from a farm in Israel. Everything else came from Europe. We did get some more Hamburg hyphen swordtails, but I want to warn you, they are either young or, I think they're young and still sexing out. So they don't have their high fins yet. And I don't think we have any that have gonopodiums yet. I don't think they're all female. I've had this happen enough times with swords. I've experienced swordtails enough to know that it's probably that they aren't all female. It's probably that they just haven't sexed out yet. So I'm trying to find one, a picture of one that kind of shows what ours look like right now. They look a lot like this if it wasn't a male. Some of them are starting to develop a taller dorsal fin, but most of them don't have the high fins yet. So this is our first time supplying these from Germany, so I don't have any experience with their strain yet. The other strain that I've had in the past, these guys, these come from a different breeder. It's just they're so hard to get that I thought I'd get them from, they're called Hamburg because they were developed, in Germany. So I figured I'd try the German breeders. So working on that. They did come from Aquarium Glasser. So this is what Aquarium Glasser's pictures are when they're full grown. The best of ours looks like this right now, but most of them don't have that high of a fin yet. So just want to be transparent about that. They are not yet high fin, but they come from high fin stock. So they should develop it. More betta smaragdina. These were bred and raised in Germany. So these were sourced from German breeder. And yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful betta in a very hardy batch. The two groups of these that we have sourced through Germany have been nice and hardy. So I think they'll do well for you. In fact, I'm curious, did anyone in the chat buy any smaragdina from us the last batch? And if so, how are they doing for you? In our experience, they've been rock solid. But this is only our second batch ever, so it's a small sample size. Curious how they're doing for folks that might have bought them. Corridors Panda, we finally found a farm that breeds these in quantity and has good quality. I can usually find them in quantity but not good quality, or in quality but not good quantity. This is the first supplier, the first breeder I found that has both. So this is our second or third batch from these guys, and so far they're doing great. So if you've had trouble with Corridors Panda in the past, it's not because the fish is hard, it's because there's a lot of suppliers out there that just don't treat the fish properly. But when you do find a supplier that does, then they're pretty rock solid little fish. Pseudomugil Gertrude, these are the RU2. One of the absolutely prettiest of the Gertrude. I like this and the RU4. I also like the ones that we can get from quote-unquote Decay, but we've been told by some experts that the ones we have aren't actually from Decay, so we stopped bringing those in just because we didn't know what to think. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but we didn't want to be in the middle of controversy. But the good news is that the RO2s and RO4s look very similar to those Decay. These nice orange-yellow tips to the fins just set them apart from your average Gertrude. More Amapa Tetras. I think they're just like a fancier glow light. They really are a brilliant, brilliant red that glows here. It's a very spectacular little fish. And for a rare tetra, the price is not horrible. Sometimes tetras can be 60, 70 bucks a piece. I think these guys are somewhere in the realm of like 12 bucks, 10 to 12 bucks, something like that. Xiphophorus helleri, but this isn't your average swordtail. These come from the Rio Atoyac, and the reason I love them so much is the melanistic sprinklings that they get. It's this really pretty black mottling, kind of random black speckling that they get, which I think is absolutely beautiful. And the nice thing about it is there's a lot of swordtails with black pigment that develop tumors on the black over time. They don't all, but some of them have a high likelihood to do that. Oh, here's a picture of one of our males we had last batch. Look at how pretty that is. This is red stripes with the black dots around and then the nice sword. I just think it's gorgeous. But these don't have that issue. At least I've never seen that issue yet in this strain. Or it's a naturally occurring strain. It's not a man-made strain. So that might be why it doesn't have the problems. I think that the black is maybe caused by a different gene than the black in your typical aquarium man-made strains of swordtails is my guess. More of the LDA 16 orange calico plecos. It's the prettiest bushy nose I think out there. The orange and brown are nice high contrast and just makes it a really attractive little fish. Super blue Carry Tetras. Take a Carry Tetra, which is already beautiful, add more beautiful to it, dress it up for its prom, and you've got a super blue Carry Tetra. If you go to your local pet store and ever see them and they're kind of like washed out and stuff, don't judge them by that. When they settle in, like ours within a day or two, usually start turning this nice bright blue color. So sometimes fish in pet stores don't look good. In your average pet store, there are some very good pet stores out there. I'm not trying to knock pet stores. But if you've seen them and judged them harshly, I would say give them a try. I think they're absolutely stunning. Longfin paleatus, nothing really unique about that. They're a dime a dozen these days, except for these were bred and raised by in Europe. And so the quality of these is quite a bit higher than your average industry quality. And the industry quality of these has just gone down and down and down over the years. So I think personally that it's worth a little extra to get them out of Europe. I'm going to scroll here real quick and see if people responded to my question about how the Beta Smaragdina are doing for them. See if anybody chimed in to let us know. Oh, I don't see it. Okay. Maybe no one responded, or maybe I just didn't get to that section in the chat. I'm going to continue. I don't want to just have silence of me scrolling forever. That's boring. Boring TV. Thou shalt not bore. Okay. So here's one that I'm thrilled about. This is Blue Gularis, Fundulopanjax strostedii. This is one of my all-time favorite fish. I've been keeping and breeding these since I was a kid. This is the wari population, which has this really beautiful orange bottom half to the caudal fin here, the anal fin. Really gorgeous. Some strains, not strains, some locations, this is a naturally occurring color form. Some locations, like Loe, for example, still beautiful, but the bottom of that fin is blue instead of orange. I like them both. Here's another example. This is a youngster. This is a mature male with the finnage growing out and starting to reach its full potential. Blue Gularis, they just get these amazing fins on them. Oh, here you go. Oh, that's a tiny picture. There you go. These amazing rocket trident tips on the fins. They're just one of the most stunning fish in nature. And they get large for a killifish. I mean, these are 4 inches. I think the biggest, not the ones we have for sale right now. Those are 1.5 inches, 2 inches. They're coloring out nicely though. But as adults, they'll get 4 inches without too much trouble. The biggest ones I've ever seen were like 4-year-old, like long in the tooth ones that were around 5 inches or so. We did get in some more McMasteri red shoulder. People have been asking for those, and we do have a breeder that's doing an excellent job of those. So we did bring more of those in. I can't Google that without the gold red shoulder also coming in. I'm not talking about the gold red shoulder, also a really pretty fish. And we should have some of those available pretty soon. We're just kind of waiting for them to sex out. We have a nice group of these, but we're waiting for them to sex out so that when we sell you a pair, we don't accidentally send you 2 females or 2 males. They're just young enough that it's a little difficult to sex 100%. Although they're just getting old enough now that pretty soon I think we'll be able to sell them. We've been holding on to them for about a month or so just to grow them out a bit. But just the red shoulder is a beautiful fish in its own right, even without the gold introduction. Let's see here. I'm trying to find the picture I took of those. No, it's not popping up. Okay. We have some gold rams, and these were bred and raised in Europe. We've had a heck of a time finding routinely healthy rams. And so about a month and a half ago or so, we're like, okay, we've found somewhere in Europe we could get them from. They're quite a bit more expensive, but we're like, we've tried everywhere else and not had luck. Let's try these guys. And so we tried them, and they were great. The blue rams, the gold rams, the electric blue rams, the what is it? The yellow-headed electric blue ram. We were able to get some of those as well. All rock solid. So we're like, oh, we're getting more. So this time we got quite a few more, because that last batch, that kind of test batch that we did so well. So I think the European breeders are going to be my go-to as long as they're available for rams. First time been able to buy them and not have to deal with quite a bit of doctoring and medicating. Not the first time. But there have been some other suppliers I've tried, and I've had batches that were great and batches that weren't. But these guys, I think, are going to do a good job continually, so they'll probably be my go-to. All right. But yeah, if you've tried rams and not had success, I'd encourage you to try them one more time. Try the European sourced ones. I think they're going to be a lot hardier for you. And the price difference isn't a ton. It's something like, I don't know, it's maybe $5 more for the European bred ones. It's, you know, in quantity, that's quite a bit, but just to get a few for a breeding project or a few for a kind of centerpiece species in an aquarium or something, you know, that's not so bad. It's better than spending less and getting sick fish, I guess, is what I would say. We also have the blues, and I don't know if the electric blues are quite ready to go yet, but we also got electric blue rams out of Europe. Okay, here is another neat angelfish. This is a scalare, but these are from Rio Nene. So what these are famous for is this. The Rio Nenes develop these spots. With age, they'll develop all these black spots kind of on the top half of the body. Sometimes the spots are reddish. Here's a nice example. You can see that. Here's another fairly nice example. So really neat wild type angelfish. But see what I mean about the difference in the head structure? See how this kind of slopes and then the snout sticks out? It's a very distinct look from the Leopoldi, which is a smooth curve, kind of long snouted fish, I guess I would say. Hey, no way, I landed on the right tab. Okay, just a few more to go. Long fin white cloud mountain minnows. It's summer tubbing season, and these are one of the best fish to keep out of doors. They develop these really nice, beautiful fins. They can take wide temperature swings. They can live under ice if they're introduced to it gradually, and they can also live in the heat. So they do really well in summer tubs. You can keep them, you can put them outdoors earlier in the spring and keep them outdoors later in the fall than you could many species. And they breed like rabbits. So often people put a few out in their tub and end of summer collect a whole bunch of fry. Whole bunch of babies. All right, super red bushy nose. This is another variation of the bushy nose pleco. One of the best bushy nose plecos are one of the best algae eaters when it comes to soft surface dwelling algae like diatom algae, brown algae, or soft green algae. Not so much hair algae or anything like that, but if it's flat and on the surface and fairly soft, they'll keep it under control. Snow white bushy nose as well. These are one of the harder bushy nose color forms to find. Part of the reason is that a lot of the strains have issues with the onset of puberty, let's say. They'll do fine, and then puberty sets in and they start dying. But then there's other strains that, you know, are hardier. So I think that's one reason they're harder to find, because certain ones just don't do well. Aphyosemion australi gold or orange, one and the same. One of the prettiest, hardiest, easiest killifish to keep and breed. Highly recommended for a killifish beginner, but there's a lot of old timers that keep them too. I mean, people love this fish at all stages of the killifish hobby, but it's often one of the first killifish that someone keeps and breeds, and then this is often the fish that gets someone into the killifish hobby because they're so pretty, so hardy, and so easy to raise. Pistogramma hongsloi, we have the reds, and there's a few pictures here that I think do a really accurate job of showing the red. This one shows kind of it coming in on the stomach and the face. They also get it in the dorsal fin, like this This one has it coming in the dorsal fin, kind of extending down on the body. I'd say those are really accurate depictions of how the red forms on this fish. On some of them, it does go up in the belly more. That is true. So really nice looking apistogramma. Oh, I wonder what that was supposed to be. And then here is the coup de grace. This is the one that I've been trying to get for several years, ever since I first heard about it. It's a fish that people have been requesting ever since they first heard about it, and has been just a dickens to find. It's the Vulcan Cory, or the Zebra Cory, a CW111. And I think it might have a scientific name now. In fact, let me look that up. Does it? Planet Catfish will tell me. Planet Catfish. Nope. It doesn't look like. If it had a name, I'm pretty darn sure it would be here on Planet Catfish, but don't see it yet. So I've had only one opportunity to source these before, and that was 2 years ago, maybe, something like that. And they wanted to charge me $600 a piece for them. That was the wholesale price. And I passed because I was like, first, I don't know you. You know, I don't know the quality of your fish. It was a breeder I'd never worked with before. And second, as you guys know, like when I buy fish from hobbyists, I usually need to be able to mark them up 4 times to cover my expenses and stay in business. So with this fish, I was not going to be able to do that. But even if I just doubled it, it was still going to be out of the price for most people. And if you don't mark your fish up enough, if your margin isn't high enough, then if there's any problems with that batch of fish, you go out of business. Like, it's a huge gamble. So it's $600 a piece wholesale. I was like, no, I can't do it. Like, I don't think that would be a smart move. So I've been sitting quietly, waiting, looking, and I finally found some at a price that made sense from a source I trust. These were bred and raised in Germany. I've heard some rumors about who the actual breeder is, but I need to confirm that before I use their name. It's a well-known person, so I want to make sure that I want to see if I can find that out for sure before I say who. But they were bred and raised in Germany, and we have not lost a single one. They came in fat and sassy. They took good care of them. They packaged them very carefully because they're quite expensive. And yeah, we finally have them. So, and they don't even cost as much as I'm able to sell them for less than the wholesale price was just a couple years ago. So I know they're going to be out of the price range for most people. I totally get that. I wish I could sell them for cheaper. If I could, I would, but we're selling them kind of for as cheaply as we can. So hopefully they make somebody happy. If not, I'm going to enjoy them. Like, they are fun to, we put them right there so that I can watch them from my desk. And I've just loved watching them eat and school around and be cories. You know, when you finally get a fish you've been looking for years, it's just, how do I describe that? I don't know how to describe it, but it's pretty special. So we're enjoying them a lot. Okay, looks like Knit Frog RPT has joined the Fishmonger crew. Thanks for joining up. Thanks for becoming a member of the channel. And Kaler's Reptiles and Aquatics. Love these members milestones. Oh yeah, me too. Me too. Member for 20 months, Kaler. Thanks, Bob. Hail to the Codfather. All right, one more from Brian. Hi, everyone. Wow, 19 months. I'm getting old. Glad I could make a live stream and not have to watch the replay. All those fish look great. Hey, I'm glad you could make it live, too. Welcome aboard, Brian. Good to see you. Okay. Oh yes, Connor says CW111, I'll breed them and sell them for cheaper. That's the hope. This is what happens in the hobby is there's a new fish, you get wind of it, but you can't find it. And you're looking, you can't find it. Finally you find it's like, oh, so expensive. Can't buy it. But the good news is once they start getting distributed and once people start breeding them, it can take a few years, but then the price, goes down a little bit. So the hope is we can distribute these. And yeah, if someone can breed the heck out of them, and we can sell them at a more affordable price for people, that would be amazing. That's what we want to happen with fish. We don't want to price anyone out of the hobby. We also want fish to be sold. There are some fish that I feel like are just treated poorly in the industry because they are so cheap. So you don't want that either, but there's a price, I think, that makes it so people value the fish and also makes it so that the fish is affordable for most people in the hobby. So that's kind of what you want, I think. Yeah. Jacob Metzner, join the Fishmonger crew. Okay, Jacob has commanded. We must all follow. Any Fish Will Do has gifted a Dance Fish membership. Any Fish Will Do, thank you. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit of a turn. We're going to thank our moderators for modding and keeping the chat in line. And then we're going to get to the chat. I want to read your questions and comments, find out what's going on with all y'all in your neck of the woods. The first comment I can see is Garen Bartel, who says, really enjoyed my sparkling grommies I got from you. They have their own personalities. Is there a way to sex them? Oh, Garen, you asked me this last week. And I think I was supposed to dig into that so I could answer this week. Garen, I did not do that. And I even jotted a note down. The problem is I make so many notes and they sometimes just blow away in the wind somewhere. I just lose track of them. So does anyone here know how to sex the sparkling gouramis? I think the males just have a little bit longer extensions, but I have to dig into it. I think there was a way to do it, but I don't remember it for sure. And if you know, would you leave a comment in the chat for Garen to help Garen out? And Garen, in the meantime, would you send us an email, hello@dancefish.com, that's HELLO@dancefish.com, about this, and we'll help you out. Mama Duck, I got super blues from you, and they are beautiful. Oh yeah, the super blue Carry Tetras? Absolutely. Yeah. I have yet to see them in a tank where they're comfortable and not stressed out and be anything but gorgeous within a couple days. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying yours, Mama Duck. Joseph Noel, I've been raising those Rio swords from you all. They're surprisingly hardy and breed for me wonderfully. Don't eat their young, so 2 pairs led to hundreds. Oh yeah, the Rio Atoyak. Joseph, if you're trying to unload some of those hundreds, would you send us an email, hello@dancefish.com? That's HELLO@dancefish.com, because I'd like to buy some from you. By the way, there's some folks that have reached out and they have fish available for me to buy, and I have not yet gotten back to them. My goal is to get through that tomorrow and Friday. I hope to have caught up with everybody. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to get to the old inbox. Jody P, will Ant Pseudomugil breed with another? Are you asking if different, I think you're just asking, will different Pseudomugil species crossbreed? I think the answer is probably yes in many cases and no in others, but I've never tried it. And I've never been in a position where I was like, I want to try this and dig into it. And so I haven't researched it either. So my hunch is that, yeah, they probably will. But I don't know that for sure. I would imagine it's a lot like corridors, where certain lineages are closely enough related that they'll breed together, and others are so distantly related that they probably wouldn't. At least that's my off-the-cuff answer without really digging in. Blue Hobbs, the rice fish and N gunthry I ordered showed up fat and sassy. Hoping I'll have luck getting the gunthry killies to spawn. Any tips? Thanks, Dan. Don't wait. Nothobronchius breed from the time they're really small. So I would put some peat moss in like a really deep bowl or some kind of flower pot or something. I put about an inch of peat moss in there, and I put that in the tank now because they're probably already breeding and you might not know it. So the main tip with breeding gunthry, or any Nothobronchius I would say, is feed them really well and give them somewhere to spawn, and they'll usually take care of business from there. It kind of helps, I think, if you have a bare bottom aquarium. I mean, paint the outside of the bottom so that light isn't shining up and startling them, disorienting them. But I think a bare bottom with a little sponge filter in the corner and some kind of bowl or container for the peat moss on the other side away from the sponge filter and a lot of food, that's the easiest way to breed them, because then they'll lay all their eggs in that little bowl and it makes it super easy to collect the eggs. You just take it out, pour it through a clean like brine shrimp, white fine mesh brine shrimp net, give it a little squeeze, set it, put it in a plastic bag somewhere to incubate, and in a few months get it wet and you'll have babies. So that's my thoughts, Blue Hobbs. Scotty the Fish Freak. Hey Scotty, I hope you're doing well. Holy smokes, Dan's Fish has blue gularis. I do. Now, I wish I had blue gularis at an affordable price. Unfortunately, I had to source them out of Europe. So the Europeans just charge more for their fish than a lot of other places in the world, but the quality is really high. So we have blue gularis, the walleye population, and yeah. Like, I know breeders where I can get blue gularis. I've bought a lot of them over the years, but it's like one or two pairs. Like I can source a few to start my own breeding project as a hobbyist. But it's very rare to find a breeder that is raising enough that I can source them as a business. So they're out there, they're just not out there in quantity. Oh, by the way, Scotty, we do have some other killies that we're working on right now. I know you are wanting Rackavi and some others. We have some that we're trying to get fattened up and ready to go. I just want to make sure those females have really good body weight before we sell them. The males generally look good, and the females look good, but they aren't as I don't know. They're just not as fat. They don't have as much weight on them as I would like. I think the males are maybe just driving them a little bit. So I'm going to separate the sex. I've been feeding them really heavily, and they're gaining weight, but not as much as I would like. So I think the next step is separate the sexes maybe, and that might help the females get some weight more quickly. I was thinking they were probably going to be available to list for sale today, but they're just not quite there yet. Metasaurus, do you plan on bringing in keyhole cichlids in the near future? I actually do, because I haven't had them for a while, and you know, it's one that folks have been asking for periodically. So I don't have a source for them this minute. I shouldn't say that. None of my sources currently have any available right now, but next time I see some available, I'll probably bring a few in, yes. That's a fish I can't bring in all the time, though, because the demand for it is selective. It's like Grey Poupon mustard. You know, you have to have a refined taste to like the keyhole cichlid. And I think they're awesome. Peaceful little dwarf cichlid, not difficult. I like the extensions they get on their fins and things, but most people, though, just want color, 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 and they don't have the bright reds and stuff. So it's one I can only bring in occasionally because the demand on that is somewhat curtailed. Kelly Foreman gifted 5 Dan's Fish memberships. Kelly keeps doing it. Thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate it. Again, Kelly strikes again. And not to be outdone, as he does, Stephen P., not Stefan, has also gifted some memberships. Thanks, folks. I really appreciate the support. It's amazing. I appreciate each and every one of you. Okay. Uncle Smiley's Aquariums. Can't wait for my fish to arrive tomorrow. L519 Pleco and stir by Corey's. Oh, I can't wait for you to see that Pleco. They've grown quite a bit since we brought them in, and they're looking really good. Uncle Smiley, I think you're going to like them quite a lot. Jody P, will any Pseudomugil breed with one another? Already got that one, I do believe. Chris Smith, I just ordered pygmy sunfish before the live stream. So excited. Yeah, it's a nice little group. We've been feeding them heavily with like baby brine shrimp and frozen bloodworms and stuff for, I don't know, is it a month now, Johnny? Just to make sure they're an odd shaped fish, right? So so if you look at these guys, this is a perfectly healthy fish. He has good weight. He's got good meat and fat deposits, reserves up here on his head. This is a good fish, but they're naturally a little bit concave. In fish that are like that, there's just something about them where you want to get them fattened up a little extra before you sell them if you can, so that the customer is delighted when they open the package, right? That's our goal. So they're just naturally a little concave. They're not like a lot of fish where this would be kind of rotund out. They're kind of flat or a little bit concave. So we've been working pretty hard, stuffing a ton of food down them to get them as fat as possible before we sell them. So Chris, I think you're going to like them. I was actually looking at that tank today, feeding them and watching them. A lot of the males are blackened up. The females look like they have good body weight, and yeah, I think you're going to enjoy them. Okay. Connor, CW111s. Oh, we already got that one. Jack, have you heard from prior customers if their snow white bristlenose struggled with the puberty transitions? No, this strain seems to be fine, Jack. We've had batches long enough that they matured for us, and they've done just fine. But let's ask the hive mind here. Let's ask the community. So anyone here, if you have bought the snow white bushies from us, did yours get through puberty okay? Do you have nice big males and such? But from what we've observed here, they do fine. They get through the endocrine transitions without any problem. Do you attend any of the Aquashella aquarium festivals? I don't. I'd never been to Aquashella. I would like to someday, but I do speak. I'll be speaking at the, what is it, Atlanta Aquarium Society or Greater Atlanta Aquarium Society, something like that, July 20th, and then I'll be speaking at the American Cichlid Association's convention as well. So I prefer generally to go, like if I went to Aquashella, it would be, I think I would enjoy it. It would be like a funsy thing. And right now it's hard for me to, I mean, unless they invited me to speak or something, then I'd gladly go. But for me to go just for fun and not have the chance to speak at an event doesn't make sense for where I'm at right now in the business. If I can speak at an event, a club meeting or a convention or something like that, then it's worth it, because then people get to know me and our philosophy and what we're doing at Dance Fish, and that helps spread the word about the business in an impactful way. Because, you know, I'm speaking in front of a crowd, so I get the message out quickly. Somewhere like Aquashella, I'd have to set up a booth and to really get, or just have conversations with people, you know, around as we're walking around looking at the event. And to properly convey what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and all that, it takes some time. It's not something you can easily do at a booth with a line of people and be like, okay, I'll take the half an hour with the 3 in front that can hear me right now and tell you about what we're doing. Okay, 3 more, please. You know, every hour you can, communicate with 6 people, the message, something like that. So it just doesn't quite work. And right now, the business is still growing at such a rate, and we're at the point in the business's life cycle where I need to make decisions based on the ROI for the business is important. So that's why I'm not going out to those things yet. Now, we'll get there. We'll get to the point where I can just go have some fun. But now is not the time. We're still trying to... We have some growth and some transitioning we need to do before that point. Okay, chat jumped, so I'm scrolling up to see what I can see. Stephen White just got a group of 12 gold white cloud mountain minnows. Any breeding suggestions in aquarium, not a tub? The easiest way to do it, Stephen, is just to choke that thing full of plants, and babies will appear, especially if you feed baby brine shrimp every day. Now, you're not going to get tons of production that way, but if half the aquarium is choked with plants from bottom to top of the water column, you'll get more than you would believe surviving in there. So that's the easiest way to do it. You can set them up in a bare tank with an egg trap and separate the sexes and then put them together in that breeding tank, collect the eggs and all that. But I think the easiest way is just the natural way to choke the plants, choke the aquarium with plants, feed small foods, and you'll get decent production that way. Whew, sorry, if you're listening to the podcast, I had to take a minute to get a drink there. Sorry for the radio silence. Uncle Smiley's Aquariums, do you need... Oh, now you need to get blueberry snails. Yeah, I think I will. We've had a really good experience with the gold mystery snails, so maybe we'll bring those in. Are you talking about like the blue version of the mystery snail? Or are you talking about a different species? Have you heard of the Morse code tetra? I have. If so, will you carry it sometime this year? I don't know. Spinster, that's one that I don't see available. So I haven't brought it in yet. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen it available from my suppliers. I think it is occasionally, but not from the ones that I would trust sourcing like a rare, kind of new kerosene from. So there's certain suppliers that no matter what, I know they're going to do their best. They're going to take extra steps. They're going to pack the fish in densities that make sense for live fish during transport. They're going to care for the fish and make sure they are fed well before they send them to me. But those are few and far between. So I have access to lots of lists of fish. Way more than I have time to look at a lot of times. But I've experienced a lot of different suppliers over the years. And there's very few that I trust to make the effort to treat the fish properly. Let's put it that way. And so I'll often see fish that I know people want available, but I often won't purchase them because until the suppliers that I know do right by the fish have them, I'll usually pass. And it's not... How could I describe this? What's the best way to say this? There's such a big gap between the ones that the few that are really trying and are willing to put forth the effort and everybody else. And it kind of breaks my heart a little bit when it makes me feel bad about being a fish geek and being in the fish industry when I source fish and get them, and it's very clear that they were not treated properly, that they were not handled with care, that they were thought of as a commodity instead of a living creature that deserves respect and care, right? And unfortunately, that's, in my experience, the majority of the suppliers. So in order for me to be excited about what I'm doing, want to come to work, and feel like I'm really actually following the mission of my company, which is to improve the fish industry, instead of just paying lip service to it, there's a lot of opportunities, I suppose, that I pass on because I've been there before, and I'm trying to change the industry for the better, and I don't want to support the status quo. So that's a long way of saying that I'm sure that I've had the Morse code tetra on lists that where I could source it from, but not from the folks that that I would trust to bring fish like that in from. How high can crown killies jump? I don't know, but I have a story for you. I once had a standard 10-gallon aquarium. So what's that? Is that 12 inches high? No, it's more, isn't it? Is it 12? 12 or 14, I can't remember. And I had some new killifish. I think I had one tank that had some Aphyosemium gaboens in it, and I had another tank that had some Fundulopanchax gardneri in it, if I remember correctly. And I only had 2 inches of water in those tanks, thinking, this will be fine. I put the fish in there, I went to bed, in two tanks respectively, and I went to bed. I woke up the next morning, they had all jumped out. So what's that? That's at least 10-inch clearance. Now, those didn't happen to be the clown killies, so I'm not quite sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they could clear 8-10 inches. Like, killifish are amazing jumpers. There is as good a jumper as like wild type bettas. They're astounding. Dan, the khaki nurse. Did you catch Pet Life Radio's Aquarium Mania cast today? Discuss U.S. native fish in the aquarium. I didn't catch that today, but I would like to. Yeah, I love native fish. That sounds like a really interesting cast. Thanks, Dan, for bringing that to my attention. Robert Lambrecht received my 3 Siamese algae eaters and a pair of gold lyre-tail killies yesterday. Came in very good shape. Took temp in the bag in the air. In one bag read 75, the others were 77. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful temperatures. Thanks, Robert. I'm glad to hear that they arrived in good shape, and I really appreciate the temperature report. It's the time of year where it's getting tricky. There's some parts of the United States today I shipped to that were getting up in the 90s, and there were other parts of the United States where the highs were still in the 30s. Like, you guys up in the Northeast, you're going through a little bit of a cold snap, I feel like. It's pretty cold up there. So there's all kinds of, it's not like, oh, it's super cold, everyone gets a heat pack of this, as much heat as we can. Oh, it's super hot, everyone gets a cold pack. Right now it's like some hot, some cold, some both, depending on the time of day. So it's a little tricky. So I'm glad to hear that we did right by you there, Robert. By the way, if anyone who receives their fish tomorrow and over the next couple weeks, if you don't mind taking the temperature of the water in the bags. So if you just take a temperature gun, take off the lid and go down, it'll record the temperature on the top of the plastic bags themselves, which are right up next to the heat pack, and that'll be a lot hotter than the water. What we want to know is the temperature of the water that the fish are in, because that's what we're trying to keep the right temperature, right? So if anyone that's getting fish tomorrow or anytime in the next couple of weeks is able and willing to take the temperature of the water, all it takes is like lift it up and take your heat gun and put it in the water section, or take a thermometer and set a piece of styrofoam, the lid down, and then the bag of water on top of the lid with a little thermometer in between it, something like that. And if you don't mind emailing us, hello@dansfish.com, HELLO@dansfish.com, letting us know what that temperature is, then I can look up your order. I can see, I know the temperature here in Billings, in Louisville, and the high and low temperature at your location when I send the fish out. I know the kind of fish I'm sending. Do they like it hot, or do they prefer it a little cold? And I know the size box. So I take all those variables and I do my best to choose the right combination of sizes of heat packs to make it so the fish will, throughout their journey, be at a decent temperature and get to you at a good temperature. It really helps when I get that feedback, because then I can look up your report and compare it to the size box and the temperatures, the weather that that box went through, and the number of heat packs that were selected, and be like, oh, it's getting a little warm. So in this range, I'm going to just dial it back a bit, or, ooh, these need a little more, or, hey, everything's perfect. But it's really good to get that feedback, because shipping fish, through all the variations of temperature that they go on in their journey as they go throughout the United States to get to you, it's tricky. There's a lot of variables. So any data I can get is helpful. All right. Kayla's Reptiles and Aquatics. Whoa, Bob! Throwing down a super generous super chat. That's $50. Bob, thank you so much. I don't know what we did to deserve that, but we're very grateful. Thank you so much, Bob. Thanks for supporting us for so many years. Daniel Morningstar, what are the gender ratios on your clown killies? I bought 12 at an LFS. All but 11 were female. Oh, but 11 were female. Only one male. I'm not quite sure. I honestly haven't looked. I've glanced enough to see that there's males and females, but I haven't sexed them. The other issue is, right now they're about half an inch. The males are kind of just starting to sex out. So it's likely that some of those females are actually young males. The characteristics you would look at to sex them are not highly developed right now. So it's a little tricky. So that's why we're selling them unsexed. But Daniel, if you send us an email, hello@dansfish.com, that's HELLO@dansfish.com, and say, look, I've got 11 females. I would like some males. Then we can take a look and see, do we have enough males that are clearly males? Is the ratio okay? And we can see if we can fulfill that request for you. When we can and it's clear, then we usually are like, okay, we'll do that for you. Sometimes we can't, though. Sometimes it's just like, well, they just aren't developed enough that we can confidently sex them. Or, well, we do have males in there that we know are males, but it doesn't look like we have enough of them to just sell males, you know. So we have to kind of see what the situation is. But when we can, we like to help people, you know, be successful, whatever they're trying to do with the fish. And if it's breeding, you want a good sex ratio, or if it's, and with clown killies, yeah, you want some males in there for the color, right? I mean, the females are cool too with their black and white bands, but of course you want some color. Jacob Metzner, what do you think the future of the rainbow fish collective in the hobby looks like right now? Well, I think okay, let me make sure I understand the question. I was taking that as the hobby itself. What do you think the future of the rainbow fish collective in the hobby looks like right now? So I think you're talking about like rainbow fish enthusiasts. I think there's probably more rainbow fish enthusiasts now than ever before. The internet and YouTube and such has kind of really helped people learn about rainbow fish, get exposed to them, have good information about them. And so I've seen the hobby over the last several years grow. I think that it's in a bit of a slump right now. As far as, I don't think it's, slump's the wrong word. I don't think it's growing as fast now as it was, say, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But it's still there. And I think there's always going to be a group of dedicated bowheads, because rainbow fish are so fantastic and so distinct from any other group of fish that they just speak to a certain sector of us hobbyists differently than other fish. So you're always going to have a group of people that is all about rainbow fish. So I think that the rainbow fish hobby is going to be nice and steady. Yeah. I think, Jacob, that's what you were asking. Let me know if if I got that wrong. Also, would black emperor tetras be something you might bring in? Yeah, I might. Like palmeri. I think I might have some now that are still in quarantine. Did those come out of quarantine yet? Yeah. So, is this the one you're talking about? Are you talking about Nematobricon palmeri, or are you talking about, is there a color morph of black? Oh, okay. So there is a color form that's all black. I don't know, maybe. I haven't had a lot of requests for this. And it's kind of weird. Like sometimes all black fish do really well, and other times people like don't want to buy them at all. So I'm not quite sure, Jacob. Probably because the back and sides of my aquariums are painted black. So when I take pictures or video of the fish, it's like black on black. It's kind of hard to showcase the fish properly. It may be why I haven't noticed that a lot of, you know, really black fish do well for us. But then the pygmy sunfish do well for us. The black hamburgs do well for us. There are some that do. I hadn't thought of it, Jacob. That's not one that I've been like, yeah, I'm gonna bring those in, but maybe I'll think about it. Nathan Hovey, be sure to add the Add-Dance fish. So yeah, so when you do that, it turns bright orange. See these bright orange boxes? If you're new to the channel, this is what I'm looking for as I'm scrolling through the chat to decide what questions and comments to answer. I just go from bright orange box to bright orange box. So if you're trying to get my attention, put @dancefish or #dancefish or dancefish. Select dancefish from the option that will pop up at that point, and it'll turn bright orange for me. So I know you're trying to get a hold of me instead of just talking, you know, amongst yourselves in chat. Gorbachev, there's a blast from my childhood. I was a kid when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union dissolved and all that. That's a blast from the past. I looked for years to find tiger teddies, and now I have them in my 5-gallon computer tank, great nano fish. Oh, Gorbachev, I'm so glad you got them. I hope they do really well for you. In our experience, they're tough as nails. They're hardy little fish, and they're quite prolific. So my guess is that in no time, you're gonna have a nice colony of them. I'm glad you were able to get some. That's great. Yeah, one of the most satisfying parts of doing what I do is when someone's been looking for a long time for something and they finally get it and it does well for them. That's super satisfying. The other thing that's really satisfying is when someone has tried a fish many times and not succeeded, and then they get them from us and now they have them and they're doing well for them. That's also super satisfying. So Gorbachev, thank you so much. Brian Simpson, what kind of destiny do you expect when... Wait, okay. I have to do this in a different voice because there's destiny in there. What kind of destiny do you expect when hobbyist breeders ship fish to you? The word destiny just made me think sci-fi. Example, how many pairs of high-quality guppies in an airport-to-airport large box? Well, I always want to get the fish, one fish per bag. If you look at how we ship fish, if you go to our YouTube channel or just go to YouTube, type in Dance Fish Ship or Shipping Fish or whatever. There's a lot of information we put out there on how we ship fish. Our preference is to get the fish like that because after years and years of trying different things, that's the best way we've found to do it. That's the way that I think is best for the fish. So that's what we would like. Now, not everyone does that. The industry sometimes does individually bag fish, but it's few and far between. But the rule of thumb is this: fewer fish per unit of water is better for the fish during transport. And you definitely want to pack in very light densities so that you don't have issues with ammonia buildup and the damage that ammonia does to fish's tissues and internal organs. You also want to avoid what if one fish in the bag dies? You know, a fish body in nice warm water decays very rapidly. It autolyses really quickly. And so you don't want that, because that decaying body can kill all the other fish in the bag. So everyone has a different way of doing it, but I would encourage you to just think along those principles as you're planning shipments. Tuxedo Pit Bulls. Do you have long fin neon tetras? I did, but someone up and bought all of them earlier this week, I believe. Let's see if we still do. Oh, we have a few left, yes. It looks like we have 11 left. Well, that's good. Couple left. Procedural Nodes 3D. From what I've read, it seems pea puffers are okay in community tank. Am I missing anything? Are you going to get any in? I have some pea puffers now that we're working on getting through quarantine and getting them fat and ready for our customers. I personally don't keep pea puffers in community aquariums. I just think, you know, it's not that it can't be done. I think there's people out there that have reported that they've done it successfully, but in my experience, pea puffers are nippy, and eventually they're going to nip the fins of the other fish in that tank. Now, there might be certain species that are fast enough that the pea puffers aren't going to be able to nip them, and are like wary of that and avoid that. So maybe that's fine, but if there's a fish that's fast enough to do that, then it's probably also fast enough to outcompete a pea puffer at feeding time, because pea puffers are fairly slow eaters compared to, like, I don't know, zebra danios or something that zip around. So if it's something you're like, my dream tank is pea puffers and these other fish in this community, I'm not going to say don't do it, but I definitely have a plan B ready just in case you run into trouble. Deb Hall D. Hey, Deb, good to hear from you. Sexy and sparkly gouramis. Okay, Aquarium Co-op has information posted on that. Just type in how to sex sparkling gouramis and there was a link. Hope that helps. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Deb. Thanks for sharing that. Whew. Sorry, podcasters. Podcast listeners, I had to drink again. Yep, all this talking making me thirsty. Connor M. My sparkling gouramis were pretty easy to tell apart. The males had more streamlined bodies and the females had wider body and bigger, more rounded belly. Yeah. Yeah, once the females are full of eggs, it's probably fairly obvious, yeah. Natalie B. I received my order of rummy nose rasbors and blue neon gobies yesterday. They look great and settled in right away. I love them. Thanks for a trusted source for my fish pets. Natalie, that's amazing to hear. Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad that they got to you in good shape. We work hard to make that happen, and I wish it happened every time. But it does happen 98.86% of the time over the last 12 months running. So I'll take it. Way of the Sasquatch. I love that name. What are the chances that you'll get in some Epistogramma trifasciata? Oh, I have some. Johnny, why were we, and they're healthy and everything. I think we were not confident that we could sex them yet at this size. I believe that's the reason they aren't listed for sale. So when I purchased those in pairs. And so I paid the, sexed Epistogramma price, the pair price, which is a lot more than the unsexed price. But when I got them, they were small enough that they were just starting to sex out, and I wasn't really confident that I could really tell the difference. I just, I don't want to charge someone for sexed epistos and then send them the wrong sex. That's bad for them. That's bad for me. In that case, we would have to refund or resend because we stick by our word. We take care of our customers when there's a problem. And when that happens, that costs us a ton of money. So the fish are healthy. I'm sure they'll do well for whoever gets them. Like if I could sell them unsexed, I'd sell them right now. But if I sell them sexed and they're just on the verge of being sexable, I'm not expert enough to be confident in sexing them. So if I send you the wrong ones, then you'll have a bad experience, and it'll cost the business a ton of money to rectify that, because we're gonna rectify it. The other thing is, if they're just barely sexable and we know they're a pair, sometimes the customer receives those fish and is convinced they haven't got a pair, because the things that the dimorphism is not really clear at that point, especially in the bag when they're stressed and you first get them and stuff. So we want to avoid that as well. So I believe that that's what's going on with the Trifasciata, if memory serves. But they're healthy, they're doing great. I think we're just waiting for them to be, for the males and females to be distinct enough that we're confident that we can send them and that the customer will have a good experience. I believe that's where we're at on that species. Kate Hole, any Anies Stiphodons on the menu? Not right now, but I am working on getting some in the near future. So it's warm enough now that there's a supplier where I get the Anies and Rudolarius and true freshwater bumblebee gobies, Mugilogobius adii or adie, you know, those kinds of stuff. Those kinds of stuffs. Talking's hard. Those kinds of fish. And I'm in the process right now negotiating with them to finalize negotiations on an upcoming import. So hopefully it's not going to be tomorrow, but we're working on it. Some of the fish I'm bringing in from them are CITES fish, and so I have to get CITES permits for them, and that's taken as few as 2 weeks in the past, and it's also taken as long as, I want to say, a couple months, 2.5 months in the past. And I don't control how quickly those permits are issued. So that's also something, once we are finished negotiations and I have settled on, okay, here's the fish and the price and how many and all that, then we still have to wait for the CITES to clear. But we're working on it. Okay. Tony Adams, for the Vulcan cories, is there a point if you have them too long and you won't sell them? I ask because I would have to save up for them, but I will buy them, breed them, and sell back cheap. No. I was being a little facetious when I said, well, if no one buys them, I guess just I'll enjoy them. Being that this is a business, we have to sell the fish that we bring in, especially when we've put as much money into a fish as we have that fish. So no, I actually wouldn't do that. If someone really wanted them, then we would sell them. Yeah. And I hear that, Tony. They're super pricey, so I hear that. Professor Fish Tanks, out of curiosity, do you mention on the website where each fish was raised, like what country, the farm? Hope that makes sense. We do, kind of. Let me take you through it. So, to a point of granularity. So, for example, this says hobbyist bred and raised in Europe. So, you know, these were bred and raised in Europe by hobbyists. This is aquarium bred and raised. So these were not wild collected, but they did not come from Europe. This was harvested from nature, so you know this is a wild fish. Let me see if I can find some other variations. Oh, I'm in a weird search section, that's why. These are aquarium bred and raised. Sometimes when we purchase fish, these were bred and raised right here at Dan's Fish. And then some of them, as were these. I'm trying to find, oh, I know. So So these were hobbyist bred and raised in the United States. So the granularity depends. Sometimes we can get pretty granular on it. Other times we don't. But we try to always let you know at least if they're collected in the wild or bred and raised in aquariums. Okay. Divide by zero. Can't wait for my red chin panchaks. Are they jumpers? They are amazing jumpers. Yes, they for sure they're jumpers. Any advice for the first time keeper? Thanks. They are super hardy. They're one of the easiest killifish to keep. They're eating flakes, they eat pellets, they eat everything. They mostly eat towards the top. So once the food falls past like the top half of the water column, they're going to be less interested in it. They really like food that floats. But they'll eat bloodworms and frozen brine shrimp and stuff like that as well. The main thing I would say is that they would appreciate some surface cover. They're a surface-dwelling fish. They tend to hang up at the top of the water column. So if you have floating plants or some other floating cover that they can get under if they need to, or hang out next to on the margins of, then they would really appreciate that. Besides that, it's the tight-fitting lid. But yeah, I can't think of anything that makes them really hard or something like that. They're a pretty darn easy fish, provided they don't jump out. Is it okay to keep young cories at about 3/4 of an inch in a tank that is taller than it is wide? 35-gallon hex. Because I know they sometimes swim to the surface to grab air. Is this a concern? I don't think a 35-gallon hex would be so deep that a fish that size couldn't easily get to the surface to breathe. So I think it'd probably be okay, Grace. I see where the concern's coming from, though. Yeah. In the wild, I think that a 3/4 inch cory would often be at a depth that's deeper than a 35-gallon hex. I haven't been down there in the Amazon, you know, in the little creeks and stuff snorkeling to verify that, but my guess would be that that's not too deep for them. Tuxedo Pit Bulls. My pair of 24-karat guppies should be here tomorrow. Do you have longfin neon tetras? I already answered the tetra question. We do have 11 of those left. Joyce Brown, my 4 Mary Spot Widows came in great. So glad to have a little group now. I'm so glad to hear that they did well. Good. Joyce, do the females look nice and fat and sassy? I know you had trouble with one before. I want to make sure these ones are trouble-free. Chris, they're going to be my new office makes. Yeah, there's nothing. I love a little office tank, right? It can be super stressful at work. So, you know, you're just, oh, I need a break. Oh, look, an aquarium. You know, watch it for 2 minutes and then it's like, okay, now I can get back to work. So, yeah. Kurt, I'm going to say Brutine. What size are your mono shrimp and what are you feeding your cherry shrimp? So our cherry shrimp eat everything our fish eat. We feed them all kinds of pellets and algae wafers and stuff like that. How big are the Amanos? What's that? I don't have a tape measure with me. About that. I'm going to say an inch, maybe a little bigger than an inch. We have a couple varieties of Amanos, though, so I assume you're talking about just normal Amanos. I think they're around an inch, something like that. It's kind of variable, though, like in a population of Amanos. If the average length is an inch, you're going to have some that are less, some that are bigger. You know, there's some variation there. Killer Kitty threw $5 at us. Whew. Got it, Killer Kitty. Thank you so much. Thanks for the super chat. Much appreciated. Okay. Ooh. Fishy Jake TV says, I have a group of 10 Gastromyzon lepidogasters. Oh, such a beautiful fish. I'm having green water algae problem. I've added Daphnia, but don't want to use plants if I don't have to stay true to the native environment. Can you just not have the light on for a week or two? That's generally how I kill green water. I just turn off the light. As long as there's a little bit of ambient light, the fish will be just fine with that for a couple weeks, 1 to 2 weeks. So Fishy Jake, that's my best suggestion. If there's nutrients in the water and there's light, you're going to get algae. So you have to cut the light or the nutrients or both. That's really the only way I know of to kind of fix that. My Bolivian rams just laid eggs and they hatched yesterday. When should I start feeding them? As soon as they're free swimming. So when they're wrigglers, they're just yolk sacs with little tails wriggling in the little pit that the mama digs in the bottom. They don't need food. But once they've absorbed their yolk sacs, they'll start swimming freely around the aquarium. And as soon as they can control their level in the water column and swim around, start feeding them. Matt M, my shipment from a few weeks ago went great. The Aplochilus blockii are awesome. Yeah, they're the fattest, sassiest group of blockii I've ever had. The orange shrimp are the best I've seen. Highly recommend to anyone looking for orange neos. Thank you. Hey, Matt, I'm glad that the shipment went well. And folks, we love it hearing the customer reports, but if something didn't go well, you can say that too. Don't feel like if you have something to say, and even if it's like, well, I had a problem, and you want to share that, don't be shy. You're welcome to do that. We're transparent here. I don't mind if something didn't go well. I don't mind you talking about it here in the stream live. That's just fine. We operate in such a way that I can say that and still be okay, because the vast majority of times, 98.86% of the time, it's going to go fine. So if you're sitting there seething, being like, man, all these people are saying this is great, but my experience was horrible and I just want to share it, you can. That's okay. Heather Green, our order came in Tuesday at 80. The heat pack was 94. 80, yeah, I don't want to go in higher than 80. Ooh, yeah, it is that time of year too, though, where it's cold at night, but it can get warmer during the day, and it's like, Viking Warrior says, hi, Dan, you're awesome. Well, I don't know what I did to deserve that, but I'll take it. Some days you just need a compliment. Thank you, Viking Warrior. I appreciate that. And okay, that's as far as I can get up in chat. We're probably at the point we want to do the giveaway. Let's do that. It's kind of a fun giveaway. We're giving away some clown killies, Epiplates annulatus. It's not actually sued Epiplates annulatus like I've written up here. When I was coming up in the killifish hobby, it was sued Epiplates annulatus, but that's not, the phylogeny doesn't support that. So it's actually back to Epiplates annulatus. Beautiful little nano killie. If you want to hear a little bit about them and their care and their personality and their size and stuff, we went over that at the beginning of the stream. So feel free to go back and watch that at the beginning. But in general, peaceful little fish. Jumpers though, killifish jumps. So you need a tight fitting lid for this one. We have 313 eligible folks. And the winner of the Clown Killie giveaway is Benia 2112. Benia 2112, you have won. You have 2 minutes to chime in. Let us know that you're here, because you do have to be present to claim your winnings. 2 minutes timer. Oh, that's not the one I want. That's a strange one. I want a 2 minute timer. There we go. Okay, timer's going. If we haven't heard from you, Benia 2112, by the time that timer's done, then you forfeit your winnings and we have to draw someone else. So please chime in, claim your winnings. Okay, I'm gonna get a quick drink here and then we'll get to a couple other questions and comments. Whew, while we're waiting for the winner to claim their winnings. Spicobra wrote, says pea puffers don't even need snails because their teeth don't grow like the bigger species do, which is awesome. I confess I haven't kept pea puffers long term, so I can't confirm or deny that, but I do think from what I've seen that that's probably true. I know there's several folks here that have kept their pea puffers for quite a while. I mean, we get them in and they're usually gone within a couple months, so we don't see them as adults and what they're like with their teeth at that stage. But that's what I've heard, and so far that's what I've seen, yes. Okay, Jamie Green, got our fish Tuesday and the water was 80. Heat packs were still 94. The sailfins and tetras are doing good, and the mollies are already trying to breed. Yeah, that's mollies. You can put 2 mollies in a bag and they'd be trying to breed. That's just, yeah. Glad to hear they're doing well for you. Hope you have tons and tons of little babies. Little dark arts. Do you ever get longfin tiger barbs? I almost never bring tiger barbs in. I did bring in the blue velvet tiger barbs just because that's a new color morph that I'd never heard of before. So I thought that would be interesting. But in general, tiger barbs are something you could pick up at a big box store for a few bucks. So it's hard for me to justify bringing them in. I did bring in a couple varieties when we first opened the warehouse, and a year later, I still had them. So they don't really move for us. So that's one I'll probably avoid unless tons of people request it. Looks like time's up. Okay. Hey, Benia is here and has claimed their winnings in the chat. All right, Benia, congratulations. All you need to do now, Benia, is send us an email with your first and last name and your shipping address, and we will get a shipment date scheduled with you when you can receive your little clown killifish. So send us an email, hello@dancefish.com. That's HELLO @dancefish.com, and we'll get that sorted out. I still have 4 minutes. I'm going to take advantage of every last one. Pile Aquatics. I'm in North Texas, and it gets to 100 degrees for 30 days plus. What would be some unexpected fish that would work out in our outdoor tubs? Aphanius. This genus. Look into these guys. These come from often searing hot conditions, like little oasis puddles in the middle of the desert. From like the Middle East or to North Africa and Southern Europe, Turkey, that area. These guys can take a wide array of temperatures. So, for example, this spar. Temperature. Let's tell you what we can learn here. Okay, Dispar. They looked at the ecology of the Aphanius dispar, and it looks like, just from a quick Google search, 26 to 32 Celsius was the high range. What's 32 Celsius? So that's it's about 90 degrees. So that's pretty warm. And you're talking about outdoor tubs, right? Yeah, there's also soda cichlids that like it super hot, but in an outdoor tub, I'm not sure if that would be the best environment for them, but you could look into that and see if you can make an outdoor tub that would work for them. They would definitely like the heat. There's also different cyprinodons. This genus, some of them are illegal, so you need to make sure that you know which ones are legal and not. But there are some varieties of cyprinodon that you can keep, and some of them come from very warm temperatures. So this is another little fish. Oh, I'm not showing them, sorry. Here they are, the cyprinodons. Wide variety of different little kind of small ecological niche habitats that most of these come from. And I bet the Florida flagfish could do well at pretty high temperatures as well. So that's a few to look at. Hope that's helpful to get you started. Pile Aquatics. All right. One more. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Spico Brarot, do you ever keep fish private at home, or is this all just a job for you at this point? No, I consider all the fish we keep in the warehouse my personal fish until they're sold. So these are all my fish. It's the way I look at it. I do not currently have any aquariums set up at my house. There wouldn't be, like, when I have a little bit of time off, I try to spend it with my wife and kids, and I try to actually focus on them so that I can keep, a close relationship with my family. And so that's the reason I decided not to put any aquariums at home right now. I still spend so much time working, even when I have days off. Let's be real. I'm often working on my days off, even if I'm at home. So I don't want to stack up anything at my house that would prevent me from, spending time with the wife and kids. So that's where I'm at right now. Once we get to a certain point in the business, then that'll probably change, and then I hope to breed tons of fish. And what I'd like to do eventually is have a YouTube channel that is mostly dedicated to here's how you breed and raise this species. Not mostly, but at least a large section of it, like a long playlist of just breeding different fish and showing you, taking you along for the ride. Like that's what I love doing. But right now I work with fish all the time. And so going back home to work with more fish instead of spending that time with my wife and kids would, it's just the relation, the time, the little bit of time I have with the family is so precious. I'm not willing to give that up for anything else right now, much as I enjoy fish. All right, with that, we're going to close this down. I want to thank our moderators for being here and doing the mod thing. Really appreciate you. I want to thank everyone who's a member of the Dan's Fish channel. Thanks to the Fishmonger crew and to everyone that gave memberships away. Super generous, much appreciated. Those of you that threw money at us, thanks for the super chats. If you were active in the chat and helping people out and making it lively and asking questions and leaving comments, thanks for being active. It makes the stream go much better when there's things for me to answer and respond to in the chat. If you weren't active and you were lurking, I still love you. Hail the Lurker Nation. If you're listening on the replay, hello from the past. And if you're listening to the podcast, thanks for listening to the podcast. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Till then, there's a whole bunch of new fish available for sale at dansfish.com. Some of them are super rare. Some of them are super expensive, and I feel bad about that, but I promise you, we're just trying to stay in business. And a lot of these fish cost me a ton. So that's why they're expensive. Anyway, I'll see you next week. Until then, have a good one. Bye-bye, folks.